So I'm sitting up there, and the wind's blowing 100 miles an hour downwind, their second shot. And these balls are flying up in the gallery. So I go, well, let's find out. And I get the next one goes up. Wow, there goes another one in the cheap seats. I counted myself. 1, 2, 3. What? What? There are no cheap seats at Augusta, you idiot.
Foreplay presented by Barstool Sports and by our presenting sponsor, Chevrolet. We love them. They're the best. They do EVs for everyone everywhere. They're fantastic. Different show today. It's just myself. I sat down at Grayhawk Golf Club, one of my favorite spots here in Scottsdale, with Brandel Chamblee, who I talk about a lot. I love that man. I think he's great. I understand he's polarizing on TV. I've had my own polarizing feelings about him when he says certain stuff, but boy, does he own up to it. Is he the most prepared guy? He and I become great friends, him and his wife, Bailey. They're awesome. I play a bunch of golf with them, and I just respect the hell out of somebody that's that into golf, that loves it that much, that works that hard. He introduced me to Gary McCord a few weeks ago. We had an amazing night, cigars, beers, cocktails, telling stories around the fire pit. I had a couple friends in town, Eric and Jordan, and we just had a blast. And in the middle of that conversation, I begged them. I said, it would be a shame if this conversation, this type of conversation with the stories and the banter stayed only here among this crew of 10 people or so. We have a podcast. We have a channel. It would be incredible, Gary and Brandel, if you guys sat down with me and you just riffed. And you will see, this will probably be the least amount you've ever heard the voices of myself and obviously the others because they're not on it, on a podcast ever, because these guys just go, go, go. I think you're going to love this one. So a huge thanks to Brandel and to Gary for sitting down with me, for telling stories, for being honest and open. I love these guys. They're incredible. And I think any golfer is going to love these stories. So without further ado, let me throw it to myself, Brandel, and Gary McCord at Grayhawk Golf Club. All right. In classic fashion, this is just how we're starting the show. It's tough to tell if you guys know each other.
It's not written. You don't have anything down. No, look, he's got no notes at that camera over there. Look at it. There's nothing here. So this is all ad lib fire.
I got nothing. I walked in. I heard some belly laughing coming from the office in the back 45 minutes before we were supposed to do this. And I said, we got to get these guys a couple cocktails and hit record.
This is our first cocktail, correct?
Yes. Yes. First one.
To be open with this is our first one.
Set the record straight.
Right now, we're
Gary doesn't need to be wound up. I've known Gary, I don't know, over 40 years. I've never, and this may ruin your street cred actually, but I've actually never seen you drunk in 40 years. I've been out with you a gazillion times. Been to your house a gazillion times.
And by the way,
if you were, I just missed it.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about. That it's just
and
been that way the whole time.
As you know, one of my best friends in life is John Jacobs.
Well, I might have seen him
How
drunk.
is that possible? That he could be one of my best friends, and I literally had to drive him home all the time. All the time.
Well, one time I got paired with John Jacobs at Desert Mountain when I first moved here. So that had been like 90, 91, something like that. Somehow I ended up, maybe you were in the group. I think you were. We were up at Desert Mountain when everybody used to go to Desert Mountain.
Yeah,
Remember
sure.
that one years ago? And so John Jacobs is in the group or whatever, and the beverage cart came by. And I said, as a joke, I'm going to get 6 peppermint schnapps. As a joke, I'm just going to get them and give them to him, just as a joke.
Right.
And I went over and gave them to him. He was like, oh, all right, yeah, well, this looks great. You know, however he talks or whatever. And like 3 holes later, he was like, where's the beverage cart lady? Can we get some more of those? I was like, did you drink those? He goes, oh, I drank them straight away. I was like, it was just a joke. I didn't know you were going to drink them. 6 in 1 hole.
So I first time I got to spend time with the two of you together was Saturday night, and we were an hour or so into it, and I think I stood up and I just said, it's a shame for the whole golf world if we only do this here. Why don't you guys come meet somewhere? Let's get a camera. Let's get a microphone, because it'd be there's so many golf fans out there that are like me, that are like these guys, are like everybody. Like these stories, the shit that you guys have from decades of being around the circuit, it's priceless stuff. How long have the two of you guys known each other?
About
Long
40
time.
some odd years.
Long
I know
time.
I got invited to play in Colonial, or excuse me, not Colonial. I did get invited to play in Colonial in '83, but I also got invited to play in the Texas Open. Somewhere in there I got paired with Gary. It was really early on in his broadcast career, and he was also playing the Texas Open. I've seen.
86, 87.
Okay, is that right? Somewhere in there.
I was born in '87.
That makes us feel really good.
I just thought, fun
Go
fact.
stand in the corner and grow up.
Fun fact for you guys.
You were
while
probably
sitting
more
there.
mature than both of us that year. But the ninth hole at Oak Hills Country Club in San Antonio has a bunker in the left front of
You weren't in that
I
group.
was damn sure.
No
and
shit.
you quit that day. If you
I
remember.
did.
Right.
I did.
I
You were there.
I played with you.
The other
that
guy
day.
was Bob Gilder. I never could remember who the other guy
me.
was. Was it you?
Because I came in.
You could tell the story
I
then.
came in. So I've only ever seen him do this one other time, and he did it decades later on the 16th hole at the TPC Scottsdale. But at the time, I'd never seen anybody do this. And so the bunker there is about 7, 8, hell, maybe 10 feet deep. I mean, it's hard to get your person out of the bunker, let alone your golf ball.
And they had just redone the golf course
That's right.
about 5 months before. So all the sand was new.
That's right.
Okay, now go.
And now I can't remember if you plugged it in or whatever, but
Yes.
but you were plugged in there, and I mean it was so steep. Well, even with a good lie, and they hardly had 60-degree sandwiches in. It was hard to get out of the damn thing.
It's a wedge, first of all. The hole's a wedge.
The hole is a wedge.
wedge.
It was then.
Okay.
It's
Maybe a 9
or something. Pins on the front.
and I mean he left it in. I can't even remember how many times, but the way I remember is after failing,
I can't
your
believe
ball
it was
failed
you.
to get out of the bunker. Right? It never achieved escape velocity. You started running a little circle on the inside of that bunker to get out of it. And I remember then
the
after
momentum.
I don't know what you shot.
Centripetal
you shot
force. Smart.
I don't know what you shot, but you did not make it to the back nine. I remember that.
Okay,
Did I
now,
get- how much of that is?
okay, you've got the right idea in two separate
No,
instances.
you did the thing at TPC Scottsdale where you ran around the
Yes,
bunker.
and I
That's
was
it.
doing the hole opening
Okay.
for Frank
Yeah.
Chirkinian.
That's
So I'm
it.
on the 16th hole. Hi, I'm Gary McCord here on the 16th hole. Today the pin is in the back left on Saturday. And what they do is they make this bunker on the left, this pit bunker. It has an echo. They make that reinforce the hole placement. So if you get in this bunker, it's in, and I'm sitting down the bunker and I've got my dress shoes on. I'm sitting down in the bunker and I get it done and Frank goes, yeah, okay, that's it. That's good enough. Okay, that's it. I couldn't get out. So I looked at this bunker and I just started running. I started running around the bunker. And I just started running and running and running and running. Just kept going up the thing and I flew out of the bunker.
Okay, I
Now,
knew there was that
The other
story.
thing, where you weren't playing with me in San Antonio when I did that on the 9th hole
Yeah, on the 9th hole.
with Bob Gilder.
Yeah, when you made $1 million. and
I
then
made, what the funny thing was the day before I had made a 2 on the second hole, the par 3,
yeah.
7 iron playing Mark, we made it. Okay.
wait, I'm sorry. You made a hole in one. On
Made
the
a
second
hole in one.
Okay.
And then so
Congrats.
I go on Saturday and I play this the next day. And I made, I remember looking at Bob Gilder and both of you were sitting up there looking at me. And there's a big firewall in front of the pin and it's new sodded and it's straight up and down. And I plugged it underneath it. And behind us, remember, there's a light down there.
Yeah.
So I looked and I couldn't go backwards, I was going to go in the water. So I was going to hit it and then bounce it off the thing and whee, and try to get it back over me so I could play it out of the bunker. Well, I went and took a big, because the sand was that deep. It took a big divot and it went, hit the button. It was like slow motion, went right in the middle of that swath. Now I got a problem. I can't go that way, and I can't go. I'm just going to keep digging. I'm going to look like Bugs Bunny digging a hole.
There was
down
no
there.
solution to this.
There was no solution to this. So I just kept whacking it and whacking it and whacking it, and I was trying to get the stick into the hill. At about my 12th shot, I looked at Bob Gilder sitting there, and he's got his hands like this, his putter's down like that, and he's got a big smile on his face. And I said, I don't know where you were. I have no idea. I remember Bob.
I was sitting back there. If you remember, we have a mutual friend, Jack Harden. He
Yes.
had come down to watch us
Yes.
play the 9th hole.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there. Jack and I are watching you, and he's like, "Look at this crazy son of a bitch! What is he doing?"
Just churning. And now here's the bottom line to that. And you bring up some really bad stuff. So I looked at Bob and I go, "How many?" And he goes, "I think 12." So you don't know? Because I don't. And he says, "I think 12." I said, "That's good enough."
Got a little
and
foggy.
somehow I got it to stick in the deal, hit it, thump, and I made 15 on the hole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I made 15.
Yeah.
15. The hole's 126
Yeah.
yards.
Yeah.
I made 15, and I just
Yeah.
went, Brandel, Bob, I'm out. And I went in, and Jack Tuthill is in the
Right.
deal there. I walked right in there, and I said, I have to withdraw. And he goes, why? I said, my hand hurts. He goes, why? I said, I just made 15 on that little freaking hole back there. And he goes, and I went like that, and he goes, okay, you're out. Go. By the way, that was never recorded, okay? Because I didn't finish.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And if you look in the highest holes in golf history that scores have made,
John Daly.
10 Cup when he made.
Oh, right.
I made a 15 on the 16th hole at. Did you ever play there at Colonial Country Club in Memphis?
No,
Where
no. The
Guy
first
Berger
year on
shot
tour,
59.
yeah, they had.
You're
they
still
left
young.
There. Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm
I
just young.
made 15 on that hole. Made a 45-footer for 15. So
That a way to hang in.
and I was like
That is-
third
that a
on
way
the
to hang in.
list.
Scrappy.
Can you imagine if this one counted? I'd have a double third. I have two 15s on a par 5 and a par 3. A 15 on a par
on the
3.
list twice.
Twice
That's-
on the list.
Hey, it's good to be consistent.
My career.
right? It's good to be
Yeah.
consistent.
That's
Why
so
doesn't that surprise
that's
me?
so sad. It's just so sad.
We're in the future. We talk about it a lot, but we're talking about Chevy and EVs and how they've just entered the future in the best way possible with this incredibly classic, trusted line of cars, from the Suburban to the Corvette to the Bolt to the Silverado to the Blazer. Do you guys ever think that do you think people in the late 1800s knew they were living in old times?
No.
No,
I don't
definitely
think
not.
so either.
I think
Which makes you think in 2240, we're going to have lived 220 years. They're going to be like, wow, those guys we were wearing basically top hats and didn't have technology, that's
I
what
think
we're gonna
that's
be
the
today.
nature of time, right? When they were living,
Right,
they were
true.
like, can you believe how technically advanced we are? We've got the printing press. And they were jacked up about it. They couldn't believe that they were printing books. You can get a book wherever, books are sold. And they were like, this is the pinnacle. And now here we are with Chevy. They've got electric vehicles. They've got all these things. But in, a couple hundred years, they're going to look back at us and be like, those guys, the hats that you're wearing right now are going to be the top hats of this time.
But they're going to be like, you know what? They had EVs. How about they had these Chevy EVs back then? They were in our time. They were in me as the podcaster in 2240. I'm rocking this incredible electric vehicle, and they just got it back then, and it was affordable. That's what they're going to say. Be like, oh my God, it's affordable. I get a Silverado. I get a Blazer. I can get the Bolt. I can go buy it right now. So Chevy's just figured it out.
Everything is a step. Where they're going to be in 200 years, the steps that we took during our time was important. And these electric vehicles are part of those steps.
Especially if we want there to be a 200 years from now. That's
exactly right.
important. We got to have these electric vehicles, baby. So go check out their website. They're EVs for everyone, everywhere over at Chevy. Like I said at the beginning, they got this trusted brand. They got that iconic logo right there on the grill. Chevy when you see it, you trust it. Now they're in the EV game. They've evolved. They've brought the Thunder. They've got electric power stations are popping up all over the place. They got thousands of certified EV dealerships. Chevy, baby. They're our presenting sponsor. We love you, Chevy. EVs for everyone, everywhere. We talk a lot about how golf on TV is largely skewed towards seeing good golf because it's the leaders and it's the stars, it's the guys that are playing well. There must be incredible archival footage or anecdotes of some horrible golf, like you're describing, caught on TV and on cameras. You guys had to see some horrible golf.
Oh, I've sat up there for 35 years watching. But the
It's
thing
got to
is,
be awkward.
they
when
don't
they're
like to point the camera at a
Right.
guy because it takes too
Right.
much time. They want to shot, 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 shot. You don't want to sit there watching a guy go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 14. They're not going to sit there that long.
They
They're
don't
gonna pull
do it
out.
so much anymore. They used to have, I don't know, maybe it was ESPN. They'd do it on Sunday nights or something, but they would show like the worst golf of the week on tour. And one of my favorite ever videos, because he was a friend of mine, I'm sure he was a friend of yours, Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan, like, least likely guy you'd want to get in a fight with on tour in his era. Like, you would not want to be on the wrong side of Mike Sullivan. Nice as he could be, but if he got a little hot, well, it was Mount Vesuvius. Okay. And there was a video of him, and you could probably find it on YouTube, where this is long before cell phones. Anyway, it's New Orleans. He's just over the lip of a bunker. He tries to hit it a couple times, and it goes up and comes right back. Goes up and comes right back. And then he hits it again, and it goes up, it hits the bank, and then goes back in the water. And then Mike just goes nuts, right? Absolutely nuts. Well, he didn't know he was on TV, but they captured it, and ESPN ran it. And now he calls home afterwards because they had not cell phones. They had phones in the locker room where you could call home for free. Like, this was a huge thing on tour. You could just go home and you call anybody. Anyway, he calls his wife, and his wife has just watched this on ESPN. And she says, well, how was your day, Mike? And he was like, oh, it's fine. No big deal. Didn't play great. It was fine. Really? Do you have anything to tell me? No. What are you talking about? Nothing happened today. Well, no, not really. And she's like, so you didn't like hit a golf ball like 17 times on that par 5 and it bounced back and hit you and went into the water and you lost your mind? I mean, that was a big part of golf. It was showing the worst golf. You don't see the worst golf much, although we did see Kevin Na get tangled up in the trees at the Texas Open, and that was entertaining.
We love to point the cameras at that stuff just to see the reaction, because sooner or later he's going to go nuts, or his caddy is. So you just focus in on him. Kevin kept hitting it, and he duck hooked it there in that one par 5 or something. He's in it, and that we played that golf course prior to it opening, because we were going to do it for CBS. So we went down there, Costas and I, and I think Ian Baker Finch or something. We got it. This thing was so hard because every hole was a crosswind. And there was underbrush that deep with cactus and crap in there. What if anybody goes in there?
Right.
You're not going to come out. You're going to have to, you go in and take the end of the string and keep going. When you're done, I'll pull you out, okay? That's because you couldn't see anything. And that's a brutal place. You get locked in there, it's a house of mirrors. You can't, there's no way out.
Right. Well, yeah, and that type of stuff to me is a golf coverage, and TV needs more of that. Like, or you have to at least highlight that. You have to showcase that, because otherwise, and we were speaking the other night about the product and professional golf and the product of pro golf versus other sports, where they do harp on the emotions of it, on people screwing up, right? Like that part makes the highlights all the time of people choke under pressure, whatever it is. And when you've got 140 or 50 golfers out there playing week in, week out, like, they only show the top 10 or 15 guys that are playing really well for the most part. And it looks like, oh, this is a pretty normal day out here. Everybody's hitting it down the middle and hitting it on the green. That's not the fucking case. Guys are like, you just sit there and they're slapping it around trying to get through. So I do think that coverage and like the Bryson video of him against the rope, like that, if it's not for social media and those types of things, that video, I don't think that video even gets out, right? And that ends up being, in my opinion, in a key part of the year for most people in professional golf. Is like, that encompassed so much, that video that I saw of that person and that understanding of this, whereas golfers are just so protected day in and day out.
Entertaining meltdowns are great. I'm sure you've got a gazillion of them. You remember Bob Eakes?
Oh, yeah.
Robert Eakes.
Yeah.
Robert Eakes, he was really talented, but his chili could get hot in a hurry. And I'm playing Corn Ferry Tour one year in Kansas. The wind's blowing right at hurricane level, about 70 miles an hour. And one of the guys in our group, we had a threesome, he quit early, and we got on to like the 15th hole downhill. Bob hit it above the hole really fast downwind, and he ran it by like 4 feet. I had it in there like inside, just like 8 feet for birdie, and he runs it by 4 feet. And he goes down, I'll finish. And he puts that 4-footer, and it goes past the hole. I'll finish, and then past the hole, and then it lipped out and hit his foot. And then when it hit his foot, he looked at me, and he just got this weird look on his face, and he started just bouncing it off of his foot, right? Just two shots, just bouncing it off of his foot. And then he said, I'm fucking out of here. and off he went. And I was at the time, back then it was just top 5, kept their card kind of late in the year, and I was close to top 5. And I was like, well, hold on. Somebody's got to keep my score. Off he goes. Right. There's literally nobody to keep my score. So I'm like, I don't know what I do here. But it was, meltdowns are great. I mean, entertaining meltdowns. I just think that they're hesitant to show tour players in that light.
When you go back to the old days. And I'm trying. While I'm doing this, I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Anyway, he was nuts, and this is probably in the 50s. Okay. And I forgot who told me this. One of the Sam or Sneed or somebody was telling me, and he said he would, if he missed a putt or something, and he only did it once that he saw, that he would uppercut himself here, trying to knock himself out. Yeah. And he did it once. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I know Woody Austin did that.
Yeah, Woody. Well, Woody hit it over his head.
Woody also cold-cocked himself before that.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah.
He cold-cock himself?
Absolutely cold-cocked
himself. Did he knock himself out or just get a little woozy?
I think he got a little stumble.
Is that like a reset?
Isn't that good stuff?
But it was Wild Bill Melhorn.
What's it? Very good.
Wild Bill Melhorn.
Yes, it's exactly who it was. Very good.
Very funny.
Uppercut himself after.
And he'd try to catch himself right here, and he said once, Sam just went backwards and went boom.
Well, his are some of the most entertaining blow-ups of all time.
Yeah, and those old guys.
He had a wife who hated him cussing on the golf course, and she threatened to leave him if he cussed again. And so now, this is a crossroads for him because he played some bad golf, and so he hit it into these, and this is the way the story's told. These are their actual flowers, and they're called pussy willows, and he hits it over into the pussy willows.
Okay,
and
this is not going to be good.
I like we both giggled at that right away.
But he hits it over to the pussy willows, and he didn't get it out, and then he lost his mind and started just screaming bloody murder, every profanity you could think, and he starts lopping off the tops of these flowers. Okay, he just absolutely loses his mind, and his wife screams and yells and just takes off running to the clubhouse. And now he's like, well, I can't finish the hole. I got to go chase. So he chases her down, and she's like, I told you I was going to leave you, and I meant it. He goes, I wasn't mad at my golf. I was not mad at my golf. It's just that I really hate those pussy willows.
That's where they got the same Bill Murray and Caddyshack.
That's it,
right?
Yeah, probably.
And, there's a reason. There's a reason the guy's nickname is Wild Bill.
Wild Bill.
Okay?
Wild Bill.
He's not going to be in the clergy.
He was out of his mind.
Well,
Wild Bill Melhorn.
Golfers are so
nuts.
nuts.
That was a good get on that. Very good get on that.
I don't know how you forget that, man, honestly. Golfers are nuts that Brandel convinced my buddy over the weekend to buy, $175 putting book?
Yeah, $200 putting book.
$200 putting book.
It was about $20 when I started recommending the book, and I've seen it as high as $300 and something.
I still don't comprehend
Which one?
how you can have a book that's like, how is it not just available for $8?
Well, because it's not in print anymore, so there's only a few of them out there, and the more I've talked about the book, the more it's run the price up for the book. I should be involved in the damn book sales.
So it's after the we're playing 17th hole at Mason, and Brandel, I hate to give him credit, one of my least favorite activities, but he, for like the 12th time that day, pours one in from 15 or 20 feet right in the heart dead center. If there's just a circle there, no cup, it would have stopped in the middle of the circle. And my buddy, he's been struggling a little bit with putting. He's usually a pretty good putter, and he just finally goes, I got to just ask you, Brandel, you got a putting tip for me? And Brandel doesn't give him any tip at all. He goes, you just got to get this book, and it's really expensive. I'm going to warn you, but you just got to get this book. And my buddy's looking at me. He's like, how expensive could a book be? And he looks up. He goes, Riggs, I can't find this fucking book for less than like $225.
Right. It's only like this thing. It's only like that thing.
Which one is it?
So Horton Smith, I think he's got the best putting stroke in the history of the game, and he wrote The Secret of Holding Putts. I'm such a believer in his putting stroke in this book. I went online and actually bought the cash-in putter he used in the book and he used to win the Masters. He was the first.
Went all in.
He was the first two-time player in the Masters.
Cash-in putter, you can't get that for a couple $300.
Yeah,
maybe.
No, it was expensive. It was pretty expensive. It was pretty expensive
for the book.
Well, I mean, we're in
I'm out of cash, man.
It's pretty expensive.
You don't putt that good anyway.
Yeah. So when I was, I still have some work to do, but in the process of writing a book on putting, and it's just the commonalities of the greatest putters of all time. So I would have sat down for a few years and made it a point to read every book written on putting. So we're talking 200-300 books and take notes. And there's just one book that I read that was like, okay, that's the best book on putting I've ever read. It connects eras. It connects Walter Travis to Tiger Woods in the way they stroke putts with all these great stops on the way with Bobby Jones and Walter Hagen and Bobby Locke. Jack Nicklaus, Ben Crenshaw, and Tiger Woods. I mean, they're all connected through Walter Travis. They're all in that tree. And Horton Smith. And Horton Smith was the conduit, really, for a lot of it because he gave it to Walter Hagen, who gave it to Bobby Locke, and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, he writes it all down in his book. I go read this book. Now, I was a pretty decent putter on tour. You don't play the tour 15 years of a decent putter. And I turned into the most ridiculous putt. I mean, it's improved my putting.
It's crazy.
First of all, I know now he's got part of the action. And he's selling the shit out of it. And nothing more than putting. But it's
the thing that sucked
about
about it, Gary, was
that's why he's on television with his hair on. He's getting cut to the shit.
The frustrating part was that it happened organically from my buddy. Otherwise, I would have been like, this guy's so full of shit. Who is selling books? Books.
I got find a book that
2023.
no one's ever heard of, and it's that thick, and you go promote it, and you're getting probably 40% on the downside of this.
Even if they sold every one of them and I got 40%, it'd be $1,000.
But still, so then all night after, yesterday, before the left, friend Eric's like, still can't believe I asked Brandel for a quick putting tip. I ended up with a $200 book I bought, and it comes in like next Thursday.
I was like,
and I'm like,
I could tell you, but I just read the book. And
but you know the best putting advice I ever got?
By the way, you were a great putter. Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
1984 putting champ with the PGA Tour.
Had one of the best lines ever when you took, what did you say? And I said this to Mark Brody. I interviewed Mark Brody last week, and I said, Gary McCord had one of the best lines ever, illustrating just how crappy the stats were back then. Oh, yeah. You get the lowest putting average of the year. Story. You get awarded it, and you went up. And I said, I want to thank everybody for recognizing that I missed more greens than anybody on tour. Didn't you say something like that?
Well, in the last term was in Pensacola, okay? And it's 1986. I suck. My career from 74 to 86, you just go back. If you look at it, there's no numbers on it. It just says, you suck, okay? So I am leading now the tour in putting, going in the last round. And I'll never forget, Peter Osterhaus is behind me, and I'm playing with George Archer, who was
second
right behind me, okay? So I walk up, what ball you playing, everything. I said, George, excuse me. I'm going to tell you this right now, George. I'm not going to win anything out in this tour. I've got a chance to win the putting. So here's the deal. I'm going to miss every green today, and I'm going to try to one putt every hole. I know you're right behind me, but that's what I'm going to do. And we were in pretty good shape in this golf tournament. So I told my caddy before the round, I said, you give me the yardage to the front, take off 5. And I missed 18 greens. I chipping my ass off, and I knocked it up, and I won the putting deal that year by telling. And then I was on the policy board, one of the 3 player directors, right? So we're having a big meeting. I'll never forget this meeting. And all of a sudden, we've got Epson Computers was going to give $10,000 for every category: long drive, most fairways hit, putting. And I got up, Beeman was in there. I said, Board, listen, I got to tell you. And I told him the story. And I said, we got to come up with something different because I didn't give my best. And I won, and I'd won $10,000. I didn't win a damn thing, other than it was about that big and a putting champion, and I have no idea where it is. Okay, no idea where it is.
How do you
so they
lose that?
changed. They changed it after.
You finally won something.
I finally won something. They changed the rules. They changed the rules.
Something you worked hard to get.
Yeah.
It's hard to miss every green.
I was going to say it's hard to
don't
miss them on purpose.
But if you just don't, basically,
you catch a flyer or something.
He gave me 5 yards short, and I never hit it solid anyway. So it was never going to get even to the 5 yards short. So I was a master of the 20-yard birdie chip, going like that. Anyway, I was telling the best putting tips I ever had. The best one I ever had was Brad Faxon.
Well, that's a good one.
And Fax and I are playing somewhere, and we're right there, and we're kind of third group from the end. Okay, I'm a Saturday, and I'm over there, and I'm hunkered down over 3-footers, practicing, getting ready, just before the tee time. Who's up now? Okay, we're gonna be, and I'm just grinding these 3-footers, just gripping it like this, God, missing every one of them. God, what am I gonna do now? And all of a sudden, this ball comes right by me like that. I look up, and Faxon's over there on the other side of the putting green. So I get over again, and I'm from 3-footer. Why can't I make it? I'm always pulling it. And I pushed one, and go to get it. Boom! Here comes another ball, all the way across the green, way over there. What the hell? On the tee? Da-da-da. Oh, shit. So we go run over the tee, and we play the first hole and the second hole. It's par 3. We're going up. We both hit, and I get up next to him, up the ladies' aid there, walk into the. I said, Fax. I said, by the way, can I ask you a question? I said, what the hell were you doing on the putting green? He goes, what do you mean? I go, I said, these balls are just flying, and they're going from one end to the other. Oh, yeah. He said, I was practicing not giving a shit. And he kind of walked faster and got ahead of me. And I'm going. So I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, what?" He said, "Oh, I just practice not giving a shit. Well, once you hit it, you got no control of it." And I just kind of, and I said, "That's the damnedest thing I've ever heard." And it's absolutely 100% true, right? You can't give a shit. If you give a shit, you're going to choke your guts out.
Yeah.
So how many times in the golf tournament you've gone out there and you're playing really bad? I mean, really bad, like 6 over after 7. That's it. I've had it. Fuck it.
Play your ass off.
And then all of a sudden, birdie, because you don't get birdie, and all of a sudden, shit, I'm back to even par.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Right.
I gotta take it back like this, and all of a sudden, now you're 4 over again.
Right. Roger
this
Maltby-
game would kill you.
Roger Maltby has a great line. He said, "Golf's only hard when you care."
Yeah, exactly right.
And
That's exactly right.
I remember once, going to see Bob Rotella, and I got there on a Monday, Tuesday, didn't hit any golf balls, didn't even talk about golf. All we did was just talk. And Wednesday, I got to catch a flight and go to the Canadian Open. And I'm like 130th on the money list, and it's towards the end of the year. And he finally just takes me out to the putting green. He said, "I want you to hit 10 putts here, and I want on each putt you to try harder than you did the preceding putt, and just all the way to the 10th one. By the 10th one, your life depends on it." Blah blah blah. I don't know. Maybe you make 3 or 4 of them. He goes, "Now then, let's reverse this. 10 putts. Each putt, you care less about the outcome. You care less. You make 7. You do it again. You make 4. You make 9. You make 3. Every time you win. Caring less." And I was like, "That's it? That's?" And he was like, "Yeah, that'd be $5,000."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Well, no wonder you're doing the book thing.
Yeah,
All right. Hell yes.
But I paid him the
Piece of
$5,000, and I went up to the tournament. And I was like, "All right, I'm going to try not to give a shit." And I played my ass off, kept my card. I was like, "Who knew? Been trying."
How it's just almost impossible is the problem to not give a shit.
Exactly.
And like Max was saying, it's like, how do you practice not giving a shit? Because if you're out there by nature, you care. And that's true on every level, whether you're a tour winner, or whether you're somebody out there that's a 20 handicap. When you don't give a shit, you don't notice it, you look, and all of a sudden, that player's like, "Oh, I'm going to shoot my career low on the front because I'm just out here
I
whacking
think that's
around."
it. That's golf.
In the
It's
old
like,
days, they just did drink. That's all the
Well,
guys do. They
that's
do
what
drink.
most of us do now.
well,
Exactly how we play now. Yeah, give me another beer.
What's the game?
How many we had? I don't give a damn.
your era, my era, some. But I mean, there wasn't a lot of money. There was a lot of downtime, and that's why I think your era was so full of character.
Hats. We love hats. We got a lot of different hats. Frankie's got a good one on right now. I'm wearing a different kind of hat, but we work with great companies. I'm wearing G4 right now. We work with great companies. G4, we do shoes. Peter Millar, we do hoodies. Unreal, we do pants. I know we spoke about it last show, but these stretchy jogger Unreal pants, I actually think we're sold out of them in our store because they're so good. But guess what? Unreal does it phenomenally with polos, with hoodies. We got all kinds of head covers. We got Roback stuff, Travis Matthews stuff, Peter Millar stuff, G4 shoes. We got a lot. And we make our own stuff. We make our own stuff. Just says Barstool Sports right on the tag.
We do make our own stuff, and everything's just getting to a point where it's so high quality. We also have those Smathers and Branson items, which is like the flask, and everything is kind of like woven and knitted, and it has really, really high quality feel to it.
Yep.
There's a flask. There's a scorecard holder in there, which I used for the first time last week while playing in the Tournament of Champions down at the Hilton Grand Vacations
We've
tournament.
also got DOP kits. Is that what you guys call your?
I call it a ditty. I call it a ditty bag. For no reason other than that's just what I've always called it. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it stands for.
I wonder what the percentage breakdown is, because I've heard DOP kit. You're the only one who calls it ditty bag.
I don't even
There's
know what
another
that means.
name for it that I can't. I think DOP kit is the majority, but
Well, they have a really good one. It's leather, and then it has like that woven feel on the outside with the Barstool logo on it. It's a really, really high quality item, and that I have now put into my luggage. And then they've got a bag tag, they got the wallet and everything. So that's a really cool thing to go check out. It's a good gift item. It's good to have around the house. I really, that's the ditty bag right there.
it's a DOP kit. Riggs has got one on.
It's really high
kit for
quality.
sure.
Fucking leather.
We just have great stuff. Our merchandise team kills it. Kills it. Alex, Allison, Pilar, Quinn, they kill it. They crush it. They work really hard. So store.barstoolsports.com. Go support us, please. Buy some gear. You don't even have to get the foreplay gear, but we appreciate if you do the Barstool golf gear. Check out any gear at store.barstoolsports.com.
And if you're going to waste management, keep an eye open in the tent.
Or the Players Championship. Keep an eye
Or
open
the
in
Players
10.
Championship. Wow.
Wow. Great work, Quinn. Wow. Store.barstoolsports.com. Tents. Get our gear. Thank you.
I remember one day, another putting lesson. You'll love this one. I'm sitting there at Pinehurst in the bar, okay? And I'm just sitting there lonely. I don't know what I was thinking about, what I was doing. I wasn't playing very good.
I like this as a
And I
putting
kind
story.
of,
It
I
starts at the
kind of
bar.
look over and I, see the guys at the bar and everything. I look over and I see it. About 3 down from me, I see a bejowled old gentleman with a Tamil
Bejowled.
Shannon hat. Bejowled old gentleman.
The last time you heard the
Power
word
hat. And
bejowled.
he had a crappy looking cotton old thing on, and he's in beer. And finally, I go, shit. I said, bartender, whatever he's drinking, give him that. Thank you. I said, are you Bobby Locke?
Oh, come on.
And he goes, yes, I am. That's more Scottish than it is South African. Close enough.
We
All
got,
right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, we got.
I go, what are you doing here? And he goes, I'm here to get in. The Hall of Fame was in. Hall of Fame was at Pinehurst.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here to get inducted to the Hall of Fame. I said, really? So I bought him a couple more drinks. I got to see this. So I get him. I go get, they've got all the things. So I went to the GM and I got one of those old putters, wooden shaft and everything. I said, Mr. Locke, I said, I got to see how you putt.
come on.
I've heard stories. Sam Snead told me he's the best putter that's ever lived, that ever will live. So I go, I got to see this. And finally, I bought him enough drinks, what he did. So we go
didn't give a
out,
shit at
we
that
got
point.
some 3 balls. So here's if that's the hole, he was aimed over here on a 6-footer. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right foot drawn back
Yeah,
like this,
yeah.
had a little waggle, kind of looked up like this. And then he took it back to the inside, and then he took his shoulders and he went like this. He just rotated his shoulders.
Yeah.
And this thing had topspin. It went zoom,
yeah.
right in the middle. First one. Jesus Christ. I said, how do you line the face up when you, excuse me? Son, what? Line the face up. You don't line the face up.
Right.
You just take your hands and put it to where you want it to go. And I said, why the big hook? Right? Why did he hooked it? He literally hooked it. He looked at me and says, son, he said, a duck hook will roll a lot better than a big high slice. That was it. He said, let's go back and drink some more. I said, okay, I'm done here. I don't know what he said, but damn, he looked good doing it.
Did you try to incorporate that? I'm sure the next
we
day you were
all-
out there.
Well, the easiest, you put it on the toe and give it one of those. But he duck hooked it. And he told me it was because of the grass in South Africa. It was so coarse.
Yeah.
You had to get it up on
Right,
top and
right.
get it rolling. So it was
Right.
one of these.
Right.
And it was
Right,
legendary.
right.
I mean, it was.
Right.
He was really good at that.
Right.
Really,
Gary,
really good.
you all. I mean, we were speaking again about this the other night, but you were always incredibly witty on TV. You're trying to come up with new terms, phrases. You just used one I never heard before in my life a couple seconds ago.
I make it up on the
I
go.
think the phrase you used before we even started was like de-cliche things or something along those lines. Did you ever get nervous before you do TV, just that you would say something
No, in
too
fact,
silly or
in
get
fact,
in trouble or corporate? would-
I used to bait
You play a little
the
game.
tournaments, and the tournaments I'm talking about is Augusta. And you have to see the process when you go in there. You got to know the process of what happens. Who's calling the shots? Is it your producer,
Yeah.
or is it now underneath? There's catacombs down there. Is the office, and I had to go down there and visit Horde Harden, my first time there, with
What
Jim,
was your first year?
Jim Nance, me, the first time we were there, 1986, and Horde Harden, and I had to go down the catacombs. You'd have been proud of me.
What you were respectful and reverent?
No, it was the word. It was the opposite.
Of course.
I'll give
gonna
you
say, it doesn't
I'll give you a
seem-
real fast one. So you go down there and you open the door and it sounded like a horror movie. The door just opened and it was backlit and there was just dust in the background floating around, and this dusty figure comes out. Come on in, guys. And it's Horde Harden, who was the tournament director at that time. And I've got a Panama hat on. Okay, I still remember. White jeans, white shoes, and a big yellow bulky sweater. So I get there, and Frank takes Nance over in the corner.
Frank Chirkinian.
Yes, Frank Chirkinian, who started golf on television. And I am now in a chair right in front of Horde Harden with this big desk and a giant picture of Bobby Jones behind it. Okay? And I am now in the principal's office.
Yeah.
Okay? And I am going to get leveled. So he's going like this. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do. Never once, Nance is sitting over there. Never once turned to Nance and goes, here's what you're going to do.
Gee, I wonder why.
And I'm sitting there.
it's
And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting now. I got my feet on the coffee table. I took my hat off, but I got my feet up on the coffee table. I am being the biggest ass of all time.
You just put your feet up on the
Yeah,
table.
I'm up like this, and I'm listening. I'm like this. Listen to Horde Harden. Give me the deal. First time at the Masters. First day at the Masters.
I'm surprised you got on air.
I can't believe
How'd that last 6 years?
How did you last 6
Can't
years?
believe there's
I'm
like
sitting there
a
and
trap
I'm
door you
looking,
didn't
I'm
know.
waiting for him to pause. He's not pausing. He's just going through this whole thing of just, dude, you got to do this, you got to do that. And he finally paused. And I stood up and I said, Mr. Harden, I said, so what I get from this conversation is that I can't wear that clown outfit on Saturday that I bought. And I just waited, and Frank went like this. Frank just went like this. And he went like that. And he goes, no, I don't think that'd be appropriate. Shit, I'm going to lose the deposit. Exactly what I said. In front of Horde Harden, who runs the Masters.
How'd you ever get a mic
I'm an
there?
idiot, okay? We go out. Jimmy goes out first. Okay, the door closes. The dust settles in the back. Boom, door closes. And Frank, who is he's about 5'6", like this, Carthaginian general, grabs me in the back of the neck as we're going, and he's going like this all the way out. And he goes, don't you ever just listen? That was the first time I'm there, right?
Well, he should have known.
I was going to
So-
say, they know.
I kept baiting. I kept baiting to see the process. Okay, when is it from the catacombs? Because he has a phone down there, and he's going to call the producer. Probably he doesn't like something, and then the producer is going to tell me, right? So, first year I'm there, 14th hole, got it. They always put the new guy in the 14th hole.
Yeah.
You're up there. The tower's to the right.
water,
and those
no
trees.
bunker.
There's nothing.
Right. How could you fuck this
It's a
up?
conduit between two par fives. That's all it is. So I'm sitting
just
up
grass.
there,
Come on.
and the wind's blowing 100 miles an hour downwind. Their second shot, okay, and the pin's in the back right, 3-step like this, right, going this way, and these balls are flying up in the gallery. So I go, well, let's find out. And I get the next one goes up. Wow, there goes another one in the cheap seats. I counted myself. 1, 2, 3. What? What? There are no cheap seats at Augusta, you idiot. You mustachioed piece of shit. He's just screaming at me. And I went, okay, found out. I said, that phone call couldn't have come that fast. It was him, right? It was Frank, who never
you're
pays
learning.
attention to what we say, ever. Because
Except maybe you
he was
at Augusta.
producing
Yeah.
and directing at the same time.
Right.
So your boss hasn't got time, right?
Right.
At this term he does. This term he was listening. So I went, okay, I better be careful. And I said a couple other things along the way. But yeah, I got let go. And so I lasted 8 years, which is amazing. And Faraday was still there.
Yeah.
That was the amazing thing.
I would have lost the over on
No,
that.
there's
Yeah,
no question.
yeah.
Well, once they fired me, it's hard for them to fire him unless, he got arrested, which, by the way, he did on site. That's another story.
For what?
Who got arrested on
Faraday,
He did.
on the golf
On
course.
property?
On the property. Got
Get
arrested.
arrested. For
David, if you're listening to this,
Tell me you had a mic on.
David, okay, they had the late show, and they started the late show at 11 o'clock
yeah, I
at
remember
night.
that, yeah.
So at that time, it was Nance, and it was Faraday. Okay, I don't work for the network anymore, so I can tell this shit, right?
Yeah, totally.
So
Get him another beer.
David was drinking then and all sorts of other things, okay? And he came a little under the weather, as we say, trying to get to Butler Cabin where they did the late show. And it was a half-hour show, and they back and forth what the day's happening. Well, David somehow, from our compound over there in that par 3 over there, okay, par 3, back behind it, somehow missed the road but got on a golf cart path. in a Lincoln Continental. He's in a Lincoln Continental.
This is.
He's on the
I know
path.
exactly how this is going to
He's
end.
on the path. And he's coming now. He's in the golf course. And he's going around, and here comes the Secret Service, whoever they employ there. And he hit a tree. Boom. And he's trying to get to the compound, trying to get to the Butler cabin, hits the tree. And now there's cops, security all around him. And they cuff him. Okay? And he's behind it, they cuff it. No, you're all right, they're in the front. Okay? But if they're behind, that means they mean what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
So David talks him into, he says, I've got to be on a national television show right over there. And they go, so they take him in. And Nance looked at him, and here he goes, there's two cops pushing him in. He's handcuffed. He goes, is he supposed to be here? And Nance looked at him and said, no. So anyway, they uncuffed him and let him do the show. But so he got arrested. I didn't get arrested. I just got kicked out.
Yes.
He got arrested.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he can't deny that. David, wherever you are, he can't deny that. He's in Ireland right now, by the way. So, are you guys in Ireland?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
No, they'll never. We'll never get to Ireland.
Oh, he'll never
This
hear
will
that.
stay right around here.
Yeah.
What
that'll get
when
out.
they do kick you out finally? What's that process like? Do you, I assume you weren't shocked.
No, I was totally shocked. Totally.
Why?
We're up in the tower. I'm at 17th this time. And on the 17th hole, unbeknownst to me, I don't know why he was there, was Neil Pilson, the president of CBS Sports, right here. And he's got a bat phone. It's red. And whenever there's a red phone in front of you,
Do you really not
I
know
know
why it
where
was
that's
there?
going. Yeah, I've been down
you
the
really?
catacombs. So for some reason, I guess I needed a chaperone. I don't know at this time.
Gee,
So
Who would have thought it?
now, if you're going to have any good lines at Augusta, you wait. And so the whole year, you're right. I write all the time. I never use it, but I write. And I look at words. So in the 17th tower, literally I got magazines that thick, all sorts of magazines.
Wired.
Everything
You got it
from
all.
every.
Scientific
I don't
American.
want to have Scientific American is pretty deep. I don't want to have something in there so it's People magazine and that kind of crap.
Yeah.
And all I do is I'd look for words. I just throw words in. Words and not in any sequence. No stories. I don't look at that's a good story. Bullshit. I'm just looking at words. What can I read? Then close it.
Yeah, you were great at that.
And then I don't know what's coming up. At the end of this, we're in a commercial break. End of this thing is from Escondido, California, where I live. There's a woman's spa there named the Golden Door, worldwide famous. Okay, and I'm looking at a menu that's on there, and I'm just going nuts over the prices. Cucumber lifts or something, $150. And there was seaweed wraps, and there was bikini waxes, 120 to 170. Closed it.
we got something
Now,
here.
now this is going really too fast.
That's what
and
we
I'm
were
going-
looking for.
Okay, so this is Sunday late. As you know, the one thing about these greens is the speed. Okay, so I started like this. So Jose Murillo, I lost my ball, hit a ball up there, and it pins back right, and he's down the lower left. Well, you got nothing. You got to hit one of these, and it's too fast, right? So I said, what he's got, just what I said, it's I've seen guys three-putt there, Raymond Floyd three-putted there, and when he won the tournament, and it comes down the hill, and it's just impossible. In fact, the one thing about this golf course at this time of the day on Sunday, the one thing they fear is the speed of the greens. In fact, I don't think they mow them. I think they bikini wax them. I got it in. I figured, literally, I put it together. The president, like you are, is laughing, okay? He's laughing. The phone's not going off. He's laughing.
Commentary you don't hear very often.
The cameraman
Never hear that.
is laughing. I go, shit, I got a good one there. Boom. We close the door. We're done. Everything's good. Get some nice write-ups in the paper the next day and everything. So Wednesday, we're at Hilton Head.
The next week.
Yeah, next week. It's on a Wednesday, and I'm walking through the truck, and I hear from the bowels over there to the left. This is where Frank's office is. Is that McCord? Yeah. Get in here. So, close the door. Boom. Close it. Sit down. Shit, he didn't say anything Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, so what's this all about?
Right.
So he gets in there and he tosses me a letter. and it's written in pencil. And it's a letter. It says, this man, to Augusta National, this man needs to get off the air immediately. He's the Howard Stern of golf. We don't need him. He needs to get out. Got to put an end to this. And it's signed Tom Watson. And I'm going, Wow. I said, when did you get this? He said, yesterday. I go, you got any backlash from Augusta yet? He goes, no, not yet, but I'm expecting some. And I went, okay, let me know. So Friday brings me in and he goes, okay, all hell's broken loose. He says, they're now in meetings and everything else. I said, well, what's going to happen? He said, oh, you're fucked. He said, and here's the deal. He says, CBS is not going to back you at all in this. You know that. And I go, yeah, probably. He says, so this is your fight. He said, you just stay above the fray. That was it. And then it started. And it got to where it got. And it was it was an interesting.
Was it just Tom Watson versus you at this point?
Yeah.
Like that seems, if there's not more backlash to that, it seems, it seems like they could be like, yeah, Tom's like, whatever.
Well,
I don't know, who cares?
And he has, and I found out later, and he has gotten rid of this problem. But, he used to drink quite a bit. And his agent told me this about 5 years later. He apologized. Tom was under the weather, let's put it that way, and wrote it in pencil and sent it. And he goes, don't.
Yeah.
Sent it. So the thing was it wasn't that. That's fine.
You and Tom made amends. I mean,
kind of, yeah.
Got it.
We had a very
powwow
close
somewhere.
powwow that had a lot of this in the chest, okay, going like this. And I think my question was, who made you God? I think that was the one.
It's a fair question.
If you got a problem with me, come to me. Don't do this. You cost me my job. Come on.
Right.
Come on, guys, don't do that. Come to me and call me an asshole. I agree, okay? And
I agree.
So, yeah, I'm not going to disagree. So anyway.
You bowed out gracefully. I'll give you that.
The thing was, how do I keep this? CBS is not going to protect you at all. That's their biggest asset. Masters, their biggest asset. It might be bigger than the Super Bowl because they have it every year. So they just distance themselves, and you got to fight the fight. So as Frank told me, to stay above it. So I just kept staying above it. The articles. What happened? I go. I got out of line. It's their tournament. I respect them. They got the greatest golf tournament in the world. They are definitely right. If I run the tournament, I wouldn't have me on either. So I just stayed above it. I stayed above it so I wouldn't get CBS, because CBS has signed, I think it's 56 straight one-year contracts. 1 year. So they have a meeting every October, and they go over the deal. So it's really brilliant. So if you screw up, NBC's right there, Golf Channel's, whoever is right there. Don't screw up. Well, I'm a pretty good screw up, right? So I gotta protect my company that's not protecting me. So it's a really interesting, dynamic,
big time
media deal, and I learned a lot in that fight. I learned how to fight the fight above it, let them screw up, and they screwed up. They kept a couple of guys that were the tournament director. They asked them, "Who's he?" Stuff like that. Just like, come on, guys, that's pretty smarmy. You know who I am. There's the one that I got kicked out, okay? So they kept fighting the fight the wrong way. Their PR guys weren't real good. And I just kept saying basically they're right. I should be out of there. I should have lasted that long. My God.
It's pretty big of you too, right? Because a lot of people would feel like, I'm being abandoned by my company. And you're like, no, I get it.
No, you knew that.
1 year.
And by the way,
you guys can't fuck this up.
The president of CBS Sports told me that. One day I'm in the hallway and he goes, I need to talk to you. He said, we can't protect you at all. You're on your own.
At all.
Okay. All right.
But you made a career really out of dancing on that line, and you did it really, really well. I mean, you'd take it to that line.
Hard to do.
It's hard to do. Hard to not cross that line. Like, I'll give you an example. Where you take it to where everybody laughs, not too many people are offended. That's a tough spot to go to. Mm-hmm. Phoenix Open one year, I was doing it with you. I can't remember who it was in the 18th fairway. Go down to Gary. It's Gary's call. Pins just on the front, just over that little ridge there in the front. And Gary says he's got 137 to the front. He's got 132 to sort of carry that ridge. Now, what makes this hole difficult is, and what makes this hole beautiful, is that it's got a great false front. And this is a town that can really appreciate a great false front. Now,
you know what? You get these stories right, but you get the wrong holes.
was it
exactly
9?
right?
Which hole was it? Was it 9?
Okay, so we're walking out.
By the way,
You're right,
it often happens that you're
I
doing
think it's
TV.
My best line. I think it's
was
my best line
tremendous. But in the second you uttered it, you think to yourself, how in the hell did I never say that? I mean, you're like, why did that never occur to me? So obvious. It is now. It wasn't then.
Okay, it's a 16th hole on Saturday. Okay, the pin's up front, always on Saturday, hole in one position, Tiger, right? Pat Perez, your boy Pat Perez, hits the ball about 12 feet to the right. Now, my buddy, Rick Folio, who is
one of the loveliest people in all of golf.
He's my information guru up in the tower. So we're looking over all the time stuff. So we're coming down from our compound, which is in the street over there. And now I think that day was 180,000 people there. Okay. And it was 75 degrees. That's all you need to say. There's 200,000 people and it's 75 degrees. We're trying to it takes forever to get to the 16th hole. And every woman there has got a sundress on and 6-inch heels. Every one. And it's impressive, right? So that's in the back of my mind.
The whole day.
In the back of my mind. And Pat Perez has got this putt that's pin high right, a little above the hole. And I said, he bogeyed the last hole, so he's going to be pretty aggressive. But you got to watch it because there is a bunker down there, and just to the left of the bunker is a false front. Coincidentally, most of the women out here have the same thing, and that ball could roll, and I went as fast as I could.
That's how it played out.
My producer was listening, okay, because I knew I'm dead. Rick Folio hit me like this as hard as he could. And his eyes got that big. And I looked at him and I said, let's go to 17. And he goes, do you want to get kicked out of another one?
Right.
He said, you can't say that.
You know how hard it is to get kicked out of the waist?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So my producer, there's nothing. There's nothing.
I didn't hear it.
There's nothing. There's a false front on this screen. Coincidentally, most of the women out here have the same thing. It's a brilliant line. It's a brilliant when
line.
you look at it and take it.
Yep.
And nobody says anything in my ear, and I'm going, okay. So I walk in the compound, and I walk in, and the assistant director, the guy that's over here to the left, who is now producing, Seller Shy, goes, hey, he yells at me, did you say what I thought you said? Nope. I don't know what you thought I said. Did you say something about false fronts? And I go, yeah, did Lance hear it? He goes, no, but we all got laughing in the truck. And he goes, what are you guys laughing at? They all bat me. They go, we're just laughing at
Nothing.
So the whole truck
had your
protected
back.
my ass. So now Lance finds out that I said it. And as you know, every time we go to commercial break, the next 3 weeks, what does he play? That line on national television. He plays.
Of course he does.
Yeah, you got to watch it. They got a false front. Me, by the way, most of the women out here are the same. That is like this. He never yelled at me, thank God. But yeah, that very good. That's what it was. The 16th hole front pin.
You were telling me something the other night of the one time in your career where somebody.
Why don't we talk about Brandel?
Somebody. Well,
let me go on him.
look
for
how
a minute.
clean cut.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
You're telling me one time in your career, and I can't remember details, that somebody threw it to you, and you for the only time you had no idea what to say.
Oh.
I want to hear this story.
By the way, we talked about Brandel being involved. We're involved with this one, aren't we, Brandel? The guy's name is Patrick Reed. And I know you can't say a word. You're probably on some sort of legal.
We all got to be
can't
careful.
Say a thing. Okay.
Masters
anyway,
winner. Fine
Masters
player.
winner.
Yeah,
anyway,
fine player.
yeah. and you can't say a word because you are one of the ones, I could say this, 800, what was it, 850 million.
850.
I'm kind of pissed that I'm not on that list because that's the who's who of golf is on that list. He just picked everybody.
I'm blown
Guys
away
that
you're
wrote
not
books.
on that list.
Why am I not on the list? So what you're talking about, it was, and this was funny because this, as you know, when you get into this situation, this is at Bethpage Black, and we're at the PGA Championship, and Patrick Reed has got the lead. I'm on the par 5 10th hole, and he hits in the right rough, and in the rough it was up to your fetlocks. It was like that.
Fetlocks.
It was there. Okay, and he hits over the right rough on a tee shot, and Costas is down there following him. And I see him down there, and he gets in with a looks like a wedge. Only way I could get it out would be a wedge. He gets a wedge. Then he goes over and he gets another club. Gets it. The next thing I know, he's got a wood. What? He's got a wood. And I go, Peter, what kind of lie has he got to be able to hit a wood out of there? And Peter goes on national television, well, that's not the same lie he had when I walked up here. To you, Gary. To you, Gary. Well, I did every iteration there is.
In your head. You're
legally,
just going, well, how do
legally, exactly. If I say this, if I say, Peter, what do you mean? It's going to get him more implicated because he's not going to stop talking. If I go, really, that's hard to hit a 3-wood out of that lie. Was that lie different than now? I got to have a camera right over it to show it. Otherwise,
Right. There's no evidence.
I went through this. I was like a lawyer working as and I'm old, and this, trying to get this thing to work, and I just went
Speechless.
speechless.
Buster
I
Keaton.
didn't say a word. And as soon as we get to a commercial, I hit that on-air button for all the other ones. Costas, you son of a bitch! What did you do to me? You rotten motherfucker! You ever say that again, I'm going to kill you. And he goes, well, I said, I don't care. Don't throw it to me. You tell me about the lie. Don't get me involved in what was going on down there.
That's my favorite part of that. To you, Gary.
Yeah, to you, Gary. It's on YouTube. You go look at it. It's exactly what I said. Exactly. But yeah, you get moments like that where you, as you know, things go by real quick. What if? I'm out. Don't say a word. And that's hard for me to do, as you know.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
By the way, how's that? You all right with the lawsuit? Do you need any help with that? I've got.
Yeah, these minds over
I'm
here.
pretty confident in the
I
courts.
got money.
really help you.
If you need, I get 20, 30 bucks.
My ex-wife was like, I didn't know you were worth $850 million.
Jesus.
Like, I didn't see that coming.
Damn.
Can we open up the suit again?
Damn.
She's like, I made a big mistake.
You better don't say
50
anything.
million.
Don't, as your lawyer, as your legal counsel, don't you say a word. Don't you say a word.
I'm happy to let it play out.
Brandel,
That's all we need is more lawsuits in this game.
for Masters coverage, we were talking a lot about what he had to go through. They're bringing him into dungeons in the basement and telling him what he can't say. You guys, you're up there and you guys are in front of the flowers. And is it completely different than any other week? They make you jump?
Well, I mean, the language is different.
Yeah.
You there's things you can't say. Casually it comes out. You can't say fan. Obviously, you need to say patron.
Mm-hmm.
They argue that fan is short for fanatical. They don't want fanatical people on that property. They want reverence. Spectators, patrons, that works. You can't say back nine. You certainly can't say backside. That doesn't work.
Did you say ass?
Outward
You
nine.
lasted 8 years. I can't believe you lasted 8 years.
I know. Can't say backside. I say he's on the back ass.
No, can't do that.
Okay.
Can't say this is a great backside. Can't do that. The vernacular is different, and you can't say driving range. It's tournament practice facility, I believe. So there's certain things.
What do you get? A
obviously-
document? An email? Sent
You absolutely
It's like a,
get a document that that
In a lot of meetings.
says these are the stylists
imagine.
code. Just pay attention to it, and then they're not crazy about it. It's just don't make a habit of it. If one of the words comes out, nobody's going to yell at you. But just if you say fan 3 times in a show, somebody might say, hey, just heads up. But other than that, no, we're free to pretty much do whatever
By the way,
we do. Look,
how about, did they ever say anything about the purse that you cannot mention or mention the purse?
I don't think they even announce the purse until the weekend.
Yeah, we were
And
told
you're
not
you're
to.
not meant to talk about money.
No,
Is that right?
At all.
Yeah,
No.
they don't even announce
No.
the purse there until the weekend.
See, that's funny. That's something I wouldn't even have noticed, but now I'll never
Yeah.
not notice.
But
it.
tell me this though: if you won the Masters, how far down in priority would wondering how much money you made be?
Way down.
It would be
Way down. That-
way.
Like I said,
way.
they get it right.
First,
they get it right.
So the first thing I would think is, good Lord Almighty, I get to come back here forever. I get to bring family to play this golf course. I get to come back to
Got a jacket. I got
the
a great
most
jacket.
perfect golf course from an aesthetic standpoint, maybe from a strategic standpoint. Tour pros play year in and year out. That would be it. And then it'd be, I can't believe what I've done, you know? So yeah, I mean, money doesn't really even factor into it, you know? I mean, we don't hardly talk about money anymore. It is occasionally, I think, interesting to go back and look at the money list and just see how much money players are making, because we don't even talk about it. We talk about FedEx Cup. We don't even talk about the money.
Right.
But to go back and see, like Jordan Spieth, what do you think Jordan Spieth made in 2015, you know, money-wise, you know?
It's interesting. We were speaking quite a bit on the show the last few months, especially with our buddy Alistair, who you know.
Yeah.
Who's out on the Corn
By the
Ferry
way,
Tour
started
now.
with an eagle. His Corn
Started
Ferry
his
Tour
whole Corn Ferry Tour
shot
career.
69.
But yeah, you know, nowadays with the money is only going to be more and more with elevated events, or what are they distinguished events?
Designated.
Designated events, they're calling them now.
They used to call them that.
Because
Gary's
he's still dialed.
first-
in case. He's
dialed
waiting
in.
for a phone call.
The first
dialed in.
designated tournament was Colonial. The boys, they had to play 5 or 8, something like that. And the first one, I'll never forget it. I was playing pretty good, which is amazing. I have never been that nervous in my life
Hitting greens on purpose.
I did. Our purses were 150 grand. This was $250,000. And I'm coming down the end, and I'm going, every putt I got, every shot, it's going to cost me $1,000 or $2,000. And I'm puckered up so bad you couldn't believe it. And I finished like sixth or seventh, something like that.
Good
which
week.
is designated
Yeah,
tournament.
good week.
I won like
10 grand.
no 5, maybe 6, something like that. It was choking my guts out. It was $250,000. Now you look at it. Geez, are you kidding? They're giving them $500,000 to play the tour now.
To that
That's
point,
the best.
you know,
the
when I
best.
talk about with him and other guys, as now they're even, you know, the players have to make this calculation between. It used to be you take this endorsement deal because it's guaranteed X amount of money, and yeah, I'll use their clubs. It's totally fine.
You'd
Whereas
never do that now.
now you'd be crazy to do that
You'd
because
never
every
do
shot in one tournament's worth an endorsement deal for a whole year.
Right. I mean, if you just organically love these particular golf clubs and it works out that you're going to get that deal, great. But anymore, I would say, you know, the variance in equipment used to be pretty wide. I don't know that it is that wide anymore. I mean, they get shafts beautifully. You know, they get them so consistent. They get the weights right. They get the, you know, the heads right. They get the CG right. They get, you know, anymore, there's not that I can remember, and I'm not going to throw an equipment company under the bus, but there was one equipment company that was so famous for getting stuff right. Like you could ask them for such detail in a wedge, you know, this much upright, this much loft, and you could go half degree and 2 wraps on a 60 grip stretched 1/4 of an inch. Tour velvet. You'd never have to check it. Perfect. And then some of the others, I mean, they'd send you stuff and you'd be like, I don't know who this is for. It's not for me. There was a lot of variance in equipment. There's just not now. It's fantastic.
Listen, the old days.
The old
I can talk the old days. Okay, I represent
I
a
know
club,
you can.
a club company. I want to tell you this. I don't think they're around anymore. And we used to get the golf balls. Okay.
They were called Tour Selects, right?
No.
Is this
I'm
before
not
that?
going to give up. You're not going
okay.
to trick me into who this was.
Trying. I can,
So you get these
Wheels
golf
are spinning
balls.
over there.
They'd send them to you, you know. So
No, you can't.
at night in the motel room, you get it, and you had your ring.
Oh, yeah.
And the ring. You know, I had the
Push it
ring
to
in
the
the
ring.
old days because some of these looked like eggs you buy down at the store.
Yeah.
Okay, they're oblong. And so you put them through, and if they stuck in the ring a little bit and you put them through, they're good. It's perfect, 1.68. And I'd do it and do it and do it, and all of a sudden one would go. I had 5 of them in a bag, in my golf bag, in the right pocket. We get to a par 5. Okay.
I'm just
And
laughing because
hit
I
the-
can relate.
Hit
I
the
know this.
regular. I remember one day Tommy Valentine. Remember TV?
Of course I
Okay.
remember
So
Tommy.
I'm playing with TV, and he hit monsters. He used to hit. He used to hit those flat hooks with no spin in those days with wooden clubs.
Yeah.
Right. And he's out driving the crap out of it. Get to a par 5. Get my right pocket. Put the ball down.
yeah.
And just 20 by him. Go, what the hell are you doing? He said, looks like the same speed, but you can't outdrive me. You're outdriving like 20 yards to this hole. And you've never seen it. If my ball went in the water, I'd literally walk in the water to get it. I need that ball. I need that ball. My caddy, get in there and get that ball.
Right.
And I used to play, these balls were this big that would go through the deal. That was
Oh,
the
yeah.
old days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the old days, you didn't,
Yeah.
like you said,
No,
you'd
no.
be getting stuff that was,
Yeah. First tour event I ever got invited to play in was the week that Titleist did away with they didn't do away with it, but they introduced the 384 golf ball. Now, this is before you were born by 4 years.
Okay.
And so everybody played the
Spinning
Pro
son of a bitch.
Trajectory.
Never heard of
Okay. And I, let's just say, was an early adopter to that 384
Okay.
golf ball. I show up that week, and there's 4 dozen 384s. You can't get this ball. I'm in college at the time. I'm a junior in college. I got finals the next week. I'm paying for golf balls. I might be playing Wilson LDs for crying out loud.
Wilson
and I remember
Wow.
Wilson? Might be playing pro
Wow.
stats, okay? But
Mighty.
there's 4 dozen 384s in there. And, everybody hits it longer in college. I was a lot longer in college than I was when I played the tour. And I get paired with Jim Thorpe in the first round. And Jim Thorpe was a bit of a god at that point, I mean, still a bit of a god.
Yeah.
But he was a bit of a god. And I smoked it past Jim all day long, I mean, I was using this 384. He was using the Pro Trajectory. And, I was like, these balls are gold. These is like having a magic wand, And the next day I'm in front of my locker, I put my shoes on. Jim Thorpe comes walking by, who, by the way, is a lovely character. okay?
Hilarious.
Hilarious. And he sits down and he, I think he's going to say, good playing, really enjoyed it or whatever. And he's like, what kind of balls were those you were playing yesterday? Like, he had made no acknowledgement that it was me.
Yep.
Like, he knew,
Walked in.
And I was like, oh, that's the new 384 that Titleist just came out with. Nobody's changing. They're like, crazy, I'm not changing or whatever.
I was just with him.
And he says, he's the best. And he
Go ahead.
says, could I get a dozen of those golf balls? and at the time, I was driving, my dad let me drive his car that week. I was driving a sedan DeVille 4-door midnight blue Cadillac with beautiful
Chrome everywhere.
beautiful. What were the seat? The seat that went all the way across. That
Bench seat?
bench seat,
Bench
bench
seat,
seat in the front, bench seat in the back, velour. Okay,
Velour.
sweet car.
Great in
And
Texas.
I said,
in
Jim,
July.
I'm driving a 4-door sedan DeVille Cadillac.
He wanted it.
baby blue.
He wanted it.
I'll give you that before I give you a dozen 384s. Like, not a chance in hell.
No chance.
I'm giving you these golf balls.
I was just Bighorn. We had a tournament
You saw Jim?
3 weeks ago. So we're in the locker room. Listen to this. 2.5 hours. And a little table like this. Thorpe, me, and Trevino. 2.5 hours. It was
Dead silence all the time.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
right.
When Lee talks, you
Right.
just kind of
No
listen.
personality.
I'll sit and listen. And there were stories and story. It was somebody. You guys should have been there. Just to put a microphone down and go. This was
Call me
hilarious.
next time. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
right
He's
here.
doing
That's-
great. Doing great. Looks
Yeah,
great.
I run into him occasionally, and off he goes. He hadn't met my wife Bailey, and I was at the father-son 2 years ago, and he came up, and next thing you know, he's talking to my wife, and you'd have thought they'd been friends forever. I mean, my wife's like, "That's the sweetest guy ever,"
Yeah.
and he really is. I mean,
Yeah.
I loved him. He used to tell the funniest stories,
God,
and
he was
honestly,
good.
you couldn't tell the stories that he
Right.
tells.
Right.
But there were the tour was so full of characters. I remember the first time I didn't know Gary then, but I can remember getting invited to play in the Byron Nelson in 1984, and this was when they had the phones. And I was sitting in the locker room, and I heard Gary on the phone with a buddy. I can't remember who it was, but he was talking about the night before, just around the corner. And I was just listening to Gary tell this story about what they'd done the night before. You can look it up. You played the 1984 Byron. I can guarantee you that. And I listened to the story, and I was like, that's the funniest son of a bitch I have ever heard of in my life. I had a buddy of mine that I used to gamble with in Dallas. His name was Gary McCord. Gary was a hell of a player. He shot 58 once at Stevens Park in a match. But he always told people he was Gary McCord. Anytime we were out.
Why would you do that?
Well, that's what I said to him.
really?
That's what I said to him.
He sounds like an
You're
idiot.
trying not to get laid?
No,
Is
no.
that the deal?
No, he would tell people it was Gary McCord. And I asked him one time, I was like, why wouldn't you pick a star? And he goes, because people would know what a star looked like. Nobody knows what Gary looks
That's the
like.
worst reason I've ever heard.
It's like, people still think I'm a tour player, but nobody knows I'm not. Gary McCord.
Oh, poor guy.
Gary McCord.
Wow.
But, you hear his laugh. Getting Gary to laugh on the golf course was a joy. One time Gary and I were playing in this tournament. Your partner was Steve Nicholas.
Oh,
I
you're
think.
talking about me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Getting you to laugh. Not Gary McCord,
Can't
but
remember
getting
which
you.
one was which, right? Okay.
Right.
Same person.
You remember your partner in the King's Cup was Steve Nicholas, I believe, or was it Mike Nicholas?
In the King's Cup.
In the King's Cup.
Waikoloa over there?
Waikoloa. Do you
Yeah.
not remember the year?
It-
So my partner
It
was Clint
Steve.
Eastwood.
It was Steve.
So always trying Gary. It's not hard for Gary to get people to laugh, but if you could get Gary to laugh, it's a great laugh. And so we're out playing, and Clint Eastwood is my partner. He was my partner, 3 or 4 years in that tournament, and he was, bless his heart, just not very good at golf, and he would never pick up. And so it's match play. So Gary and his partner, did you say Steve? They're playing Clint and I. And I'm 10 feet for birdie. And Clint's hit it in the bunker in 2. And he's got a little bunker shot out. And he doesn't get it out. And he doesn't get it out. And now Gary's standing right beside me. And he doesn't get it out. And he doesn't get it out. And I'm not shitting you. He keeps going a bit. And then in all the fog of this, he stops. And he just sort of leans on his wedge. And he looks like he's just pondering things. And so I said to Gary, Gary, you know what he's thinking right now? And Gary goes, no, what do you think? And I said, I tell you what, I guarantee you right now he's thinking, in all this confusion, I can't remember if I've hit it 5 times or 6 times. And Gary starts laughing like that. Okay? And Clint hears us laughing. And Clint turns around and looks at us like he's about to shoot us with that 45. He was so pissed. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get in the cart with this guy.
Thinks we're laughing at him.
And Gary laughs the rest of the day. The rest of the day.
I do
It's like,
remember that. Clint had one year at the Crosby. I'm playing with him, and he says, "What are you doing tonight?" I go, "I don't know yet." He says, "I'll meet you cocktails at the what's this place there? The Boars.
the
Hogshead. Hog's Breath.
Hog's breath.
Hog's Breath.
Hog's breath.
I'll meet you at the,
We got there.
I'll meet you at
we got there.
the Hog's Breath. We did. It was roundabout. We get around the Rosie.
Like two old men walking across the street.
We got there.
I'm at
We
that
got there.
age,
It
so
wasn't easy.
so he says, I'll meet you at Hog's Breath, back bar, 6 o'clock. Great back bar. Okay. I'm going out
You're
with
not
Clint.
missing that one.
Yeah, I'm going out.
So I get there, and I get there and waiting, and it's a little bar, just a little bar, and there's 15 people in there is all. So I'm sitting. I'm the only guy at the bar sitting there. Little bar, 4 or 5
it's tiny.
seats, tiny. And all of a sudden, he sits down. How you doing? And that's the last I heard for about half hour. Women after women coming up. Hi, Clint. How you doing? Can I have an autograph? And he's just having a ball. I'm drinking. I had a whole beer, drinking. Finally, there's no girls left, right? And I look at him and I go, you must have had a ball in Hollywood all these years. And it was one of these. I screwed them all. It's the greatest line I've ever heard. It was so poignant. He had to gather it. And I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
All right, I don't doubt it. But he didn't use that word. He used another word, right?
he did.
And it was, I'll never forget that. It's all the stuff that hung around with Clint. That was the greatest line I've ever heard. One guy to another guy sitting in a lonely bar by themselves.
And I like that he took a sip. It's like,
Just doing.
Yeah.
He had to gather himself, and it was just perfect Clint Eastwood,
Dramatic pause.
breathy like that. And I think that was to really accentuate the point.
Long way from Clint, but that dramatic pause reminded me of a Mark Brooks story I might have told you about J.C. Snead. Have I ever told you that story?
Not sure.
You'll get a kick out of this. 1988, my rookie year on tour, J.C. Snead was still out there. He still had a cult following. Similar, I guess, to some degree to the Mac O'Grady cult following. You know, people would gather around him and ask him to hit shots. And J.C. Snead, you know, it's Sam Snead's nephew, you know, and he could flat hit it. And Mark Brooks and I are down at the far end of a driving range in Atlanta Athletic Club, I think it was, all the way at the end, hot as hell, down there hitting golf balls. And down there is J.C. Snead, and behind him is like 10, 15 tour pros. And they're just absolute in full cult mode, okay? Just admiring and awing and oohing with every shot he hits. And he would sit back, you know, he'd hit a shot and he'd turn around and ask somebody, what do you want to see? And so Brooks and I finished practicing. Mark Brooks is one of the, I think, smart guy, funny as hell, cynic, all that. And acerbic, you know,
Always
just caustic.
smoking
I
his
love it.
cigarette.
And so he looks at me and he goes, let's go down here and settle in behind this shit show. And so we go in there and we sit back there, and there's Davis Love and Billy Andrade and Brad Faxon and, you know, scores of others, Dave, you know, everybody. And J.C. Snead's hitting a 1-iron. And he's like, you know, Davis, what do you want to see? Davis is like, well, I want you to hit it that telephone and snap hook it 80 yards and see if you can get it hit that telephone pole. Big snap hook. Billy, Andrew, what do you want to see? I want you to see a big high slice, the opposite shot. Boom, does it. You know, and he's just nailing every one of these shots, going through it, shot after shot after shot. And JC turns around, he sees Mark and I in the back, and he says, Brooksy, what do you want to see? And Brooksy's got a cigarette in his hand, and he just goes, I want to see you make a 5-footer.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
And I mean,
Pregnant pause.
everybody fell out.
Yeah.
Everybody fell
He was a
out.
little shaky.
Everybody fell out.
Oh, man.
And that ended the J.C.
shaky.
Snead cult range session.
Ooh, that'd be a little bit of a dagger.
It was a bit of a dagger.
Oh, shit.
It was a
I
bit
thought
of
we
a
were having a
dagger.
good time here.
Right. I thought we were having a good time here.
That's the only guy I've ever seen on the tour get in a fight. And we're at Silverado.
A proper fight on the golf course?
Fight. This is the funniest thing you've ever seen. We're all in the driving range
I asked
at
because I've
Silverado, okay?
Okay.
And we're on the back range, but it somehow it's a rain delay, and everybody's got to go. So remember the other driving range, the end down there?
Sure. Of course.
Okay. So JC is on the left-hand side, and we're hitting balls, getting ready. And pretty soon you hear this, you son of a bitch, quit hitting it back here. Screaming and yelling from the other side, quit it! JC's down there, he's hitting drivers into the other end of the range. And Dave Hill about got killed.
Dave
down
Hill,
there.
who's this tall?
Yes. So we all kind of, we're winding there, screaming at each other. It's 300 yards. They're screaming, you son of a bitch, I'm going to kill you. Next thing I know, they start running at each other on the driving range, and they meet in the middle, and they're going like this.
That's right. They went to blows.
And you got to watch Dave Hill because he's probably got a gun in his golf bag, right? He always did. You got to watch Dave, yeah. And they're just beating the shit out of each other, and we're all sitting there just watching this. And I turn to the guy and I go, "You don't see this much on the range, do you?" Only time I've ever seen anybody go at it on the golf course.
I almost got in a
Ever.
fight on the 9th green at Memphis. 1 year.
Green, which golf course?
TPC Memphis.
Nice little
Now, I've been in exactly this many fights in my life.
Okay.
But the closest I've ever come to being in a fight.
water in the front, good hole. What
Saturday.
I've actually almost been in a
Memphis.
couple fights with Brandel, of all people.
Actually, this is so true. That's so
Yes,
true.
every time I'm with him, somehow we almost get in fights with
That's
him.
so true.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I'm
He
playing-
doesn't look violent.
I'm
I
playing-
don't,
no,
he's not.
not at all.
Neither am I.
I'm playing with Fulton Allen.
Fulte?
First off in a twosome
Okay.
on a Saturday morning, okay? And Fulton on the first tee again, you know, it kind of matters to me where I finish in this event. And it doesn't matter to Fulte for some reason. I think he had a 10-year exemption.
some
right?
reason.
He won the World Series. It doesn't matter. He
Yeah,
had a 10-year
yeah.
exemption. kind of mattered to me where I finished. So he gets up on the first tee. He goes, I don't care what we shoot today, as long as we finish in 2.5 hours or whatever it was. And I was like, whatever, full tee. And off we go. And the third hole, he snap hooks it in the tree, that double dogleg par 5. And, as I drive it down there, I'm waiting for him. I get to my ball. He hits out. I'm hitting my second shot, and he walks out in front of me, back away and have to hit it 2 or 3 times, as I'm hitting shots or putting. He's like right there. He's walking in my way and in my line. He does it the whole front 9. And we get around to 9, the pin's back right. And I hit it just off the green, and I got like a 20-foot chip. And I'm just settled in, getting ready to hit a chip, and Fulte just walks right out behind the hole. And I backed away, and I go, Fulte, just let me fucking play.
Yeah.
And you'd have thought I would have, killed his dog or something. He looks at me.
offended.
He looks at me like with these daggers, and he goes, I'll tear your fucking head off. That's exactly what he said. What did you say? I'll tear your fucking. And he starts coming at me, and I didn't
And
know.
he's a big guy.
I didn't know.
He's a big
Well, he's
guy.
a really big guy, and
Yeah.
there was loads of stories about him
Brandel's not going to win this fight.
getting right.
No,
totally not going to win this fight.
Nobody in Vegas has got.
I'm
Brandel
fast.
winning.
I'm fast, but I'm not going to win this fight.
Yeah.
But he starts
Running, yeah.
Yeah, I can outrun him. So he starts walking towards me, and he has got blood in his eyes, and I'm thinking he's joking, and then he's not joking, and the next thing you know, he's like 10 feet from me, and I think, well, there's loads of people around the green. And I think, what the hell am I going to do here?
Go
I'm
low.
like, and I'm
low.
like,
Jump on him.
I'm like, well, I've got a sand wedge in my hand. And right about then, I got as crazy as he got. And I stopped, and I pulled that wedge up, and I go, take one more step. Motherfucker, take one more step. I go, you got nuts and kneecaps. I go, take one more step. And Fulton Allen, he looks at me, and he starts smiling and laughing. He goes, little man with fire. And so the rest of the time
You drew. Was it a 60 degree? Had a nice bounce on
it was a ping 54 degree.
Ooh, that'll cut you.
Heck of a
That
wedge.
thing will cut you.
Yeah. And I had it in my hand, like
We've debated on the show of if you had to choose one club as a weapon, which would be the best
The
one.
longest
And
one.
think
I want to get as far away swinging that thing.
I don't know. I might go for the wedge.
that
It's got
one,
the most
it's
weight.
got a lot to it.
Yeah,
Right?
I staved him off. For the rest of the time that I saw Fulton, every time I walked past him, every single time. He tried to put his arm around me the whole back 9.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, the whole back 9. But the rest of as long as I knew him, every time he walked by me, he'd go, little man with fire.
That's too good. I can't believe I never heard that story.
Good old
all the
days.
time. Well, look, I appreciate this, guys. I don't want to keep you all night.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
I love this guy. I
Oh,
love
by
him.
the way, let me just give you this
I
real
love
quick.
him on
So,
television. He
let me
does
just give you
great.
this. There is a guy at the Golf Channel who's a producer. His name's Jeff Fabian. He's
Now,
one of my
you can't
favorite.
be showing pictures.
I'm not showing pictures. I asked him, I said, because he's your biggest fan, and he's a really smart guy. Nobody knows golf better. Nobody. I asked him, I said a text to him, Fabs, how the hell are you? Wanted to reach out to you because nobody enjoyed McCord more than you. I'm doing a podcast with him and Riggs this afternoon. Anything that really tickled you. This is his response.
Oh, wow.
My God, he was so good. The most famous thing that comes to mind was Sergio from the Tree, Medina 99. He was so good at making the mundane interesting on a slow day. He could point out little interesting details about the game and players and make it funny. John Madden is widely considered the best NFL analyst. He could make a blowout game interesting because he found the game interesting and could talk forever on details of the game. I thought McCord was the same with golf. He could entertain you if the tournament itself did not. And I've always
Well,
thought
that's
that
very
about Gary.
nice.
I've always
Can I
thought the
write
same.
him a thank you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that about Gary. I
Wait,
think
I
he's
was
one
going to
of
say something nice about you. How'd you turn that on me? Did you see how fast he turned that on me?
He's a
I
little
was
man
gonna-
with fire.
Yes,
He's
I
sneaky.
guess. Okay.
Jeff
I guess.
Fabian. He's
God,
your biggest fan.
God love him.
No, I look. I've been a big fan of both of you guys for a long time. To get you in the same room, to have been kind of hearing, listening, witnessing you guys cover and talk about golf for decades. It's a big part of the reason I got into it is people like you making it interesting. So very, very cool for me to do this.
Pleasure and
It's been
congrats for
absolute
what you're
pleasure.
doing in golf.
Yeah, you're doing a hell of a job.
Doing a hell of a
We have a good time.
Really
Thank you,
enjoyed it.
boys.
That's the deal. Have a
McCord,
good time.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, partner.
All right.
As always.
Thanks.
Gents, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Randall.
Thanks, bud.
I'm going to have another beer. Look at this. Yeah.